Today, we are talking about Wuthering Waves, but does it live up to the hype? Let's break it down and find out if Wuthering Waves is worth playing. Starting with the graphics, Wuthering Waves makes a strong first impression. The aesthetic is solid and immersive, characterized by a heavy grey tint that reinforces the game's gloomy post-apocalyptic vibe. This artistic choice creates a sense of desolation and coldness, which might make the exploration feel a bit monotonous at times. Despite the different regions meant to diversify the landscape, the overarching grayscale palette makes them appear more similar than distinct. However, the real highlight here is the FPS options. Wuthering Waves offers a 120 FPS setting, providing exceptionally smooth gameplay that enhances the high-intensity combat experience. This is a significant plus, especially for a game where quick reactions and fluid movement are crucial. The range of graphics settings is broad, allowing players with mid to high-end PCs to push their systems while also catering to those with lower-end devices. Just a quick tip: turn off the default motion blur for a more comfortable experience during long play sessions. Sound design is another area where Wuthering Waves excels. The soundtrack is a pleasant surprise, offering more than just the typical bass-heavy EDM for boss fights. The game features serene, soft tracks that play during ambient exploration, creating a relaxing contrast to the intense battle music. This dynamic shift in the music helps to heighten the tension during combat, effectively triggering a fight-or-flight response. Here are two snippets of the soundtrack to give you a taste of this contrast: one peaceful track for exploration and one aggressive track for battle. Combat sound effects are well designed, with clear indicators for perfect evasion, parries, QTEs, and ability usage. While some might find these sounds a bit sharp, they generally contribute positively to the overall immersion. Kuro Games, the developers behind Wuthering Waves, also created PGR, which is known for its stellar combat sound design. This experience shows as the sound design here enhances the gameplay experience, making it more immersive and enjoyable. Next, let's talk about the UI. Wuthering Waves interface might not stand out, but its familiarity can be both a strength and a weakness. It borrows heavily from games like Genshin Impact and Tower of Fantasy, which makes it easy for players from those communities to jump right in. This approach is practical, ensuring a smooth transition and reducing information overload. However, it also means the UI lacks a distinct identity. While some players might appreciate the functionality and efficiency, others might find it a bit uninspired. There are also minor technical issues, like delays when clicking buttons and clunky scene transitions, but these are expected to be polished by the full release. Moving on to the story, it's currently only voiced in Mandarin, with the promise of more languages on the full release. The voice acting is commendable, featuring familiar voices from other games and anime, while the plot includes typical elements like voice cutscenes and attractive characters. It doesn't stand out as the main draw of the game. For many players, including myself, the focus is more on the gameplay, particularly the combat, which is where Wuthering Waves shines. Exploration in Wuthering Waves gets a thumbs up. The open world is vast and varied, with quality of life features that make traversing it enjoyable rather than a chore. Climbing, for instance, can turn into wall running and backflipping off ledges, adding a fun dynamic to movement. The grapple mechanic, accessible early in the game, is versatile and can be used in various ways, such as dodging in combat, traversing the environment faster, or even mid-air during gliding. These features make exploring the world feel fluid and unrestricted. The world map includes typical gacha elements like teleport waypoints, boss dungeons, resource domains, quest markers, points of interest, and towns with NPCs. There are also puzzles, chests, and a variety of unique enemies scattered across the map. One minor critique is that the enemies feel a bit spread out, and increasing their density by about 20% could make the world feel more alive and engaging. The stamina system, or wave plate, has a 240 cap that recharges over 24 hours, with resource consumption costing between 40 to 60. There's currently no way to store stamina for future use, which might be a point of contention for some players. Now, let's dive into the heart of Wuthering Waves, the gameplay. The combat is the standout feature, offering fluid and satisfying mechanics that feel more like a high-quality action RPG than a typical gacha game. With the 120 FPS setting, combat feels smooth and responsive, allowing players to focus on dodging, parrying, and executing combos with precision. The transition window for swapping characters is smoother than in previous tests, and echo abilities and skills are seamlessly integrated into the flow of combat. Each character brings unique skills, echo abilities, ultimates, and core passive attacks, ensuring minimal downtime between abilities and making the rotation of characters feel natural and dynamic. The addition of audio cues for QTEs is a thoughtful touch, allowing players to stay immersed in the fight without constantly checking visual indicators. The break and toughness bars add another layer of strategy, rewarding players who time their attacks and parries well with opportunities for free damage. The Echo abilities themselves are a highlight, offering fun and useful mechanics that can even be used for parrying if timed correctly. These abilities synergize well with certain characters, opening up a variety of strategic combinations. The grapple mechanic is another versatile tool, useful in combat for dodging and plunging attacks, as well as for general traversal. No game is perfect, and Wuthering Waves has its share of drawbacks. One major issue is the game's identity, which feels somewhat ambiguous. While it claims to be darker and post-apocalyptic, the story and setting don't fully commit to these genres. The game also borrows heavily from Genshin Impact in terms of UI and monetization, which might make it feel less original to some players. The ecosystem, while innovative, has its downsides. The developers seem to have taken inspiration from Nioh 2, but added a gear grind element with stat RNG, making it a potentially frustrating experience for players. The most efficient way to grind echo sets involves using stamina on upgrade materials and farming mobs in the overworld, which could be a turn-off for those who dislike extensive gear grinding. So, is Wuthering Waves worth playing? If you enjoy fast-paced, fluid combat and don't mind a bit of gear grinding, it's definitely worth a try. The game's strengths in gameplay and exploration outweigh its shortcomings, making it a promising addition to the gacha game genre. Keep an eye on future updates and improvements, as the developers are likely to address some of the current issues and enhance the overall experience. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this review, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more game reviews and content.